Now, with me is a very special guest who I'll be introducing momentarily, so definitely do stay tuned. And we are all set and ready, yes, for our special interview this Sunday morning to focus our attention on a very important issue, actually, in our country. The issue being the current level of healthcare in rural communities. Now, the universal free healthcare in our country definitely has done wonders to us all, allowing all Sri Lankans to access adequate free healthcare. We as a nation definitely has made major strides in this regard. But unfortunately, idealism aside, not every citizen in our country is able to get the necessary healthcare that he or she needs. And it's a grim reality, and this can be due to various reasons which we will be getting into. But what we see is that this involves people primarily living in rural areas, in rural communities. It's an unfortunate yet major issue that I personally think that never really gets talked about that often, hence the need for today's special program. Yes, indeed, we're going to shed a lot of light on this particular issue, but also on another sort of need, which is why we deem this a special interview. It's to also talk about a very special project in line with this, ready to be set in motion in a matter of days by the medical students of the University of Kelaniya to address this exact issue, which is definitely wonderful. So with that, allow me to welcome our special guest for today's program. He is also a fellow graduate from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, completed his master's and postgraduate studies in medical education in the University of Kelaniya, and is currently a lecturer in medical education in the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya. Dr. Harith Wickramasekara, welcome to the show, and a very good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Abhishek.
Good morning. Yes. How was your commute? With the weather, was it easy getting here? Or, yeah?
I think the weather is gloomy today, and it's raining heavily outside.
Yeah, it is raining, and so definitely, for those of you out there who are planning to go out and stuff, so you should, take the necessary precautions with regard to that. So, and you're doing all right. So we're gonna let's get right into it then. All right, so now so definitely I believe that you agree, Doctor, with this situation with rural areas, people living in rural communities having to face this issue with not getting the necessary healthcare that they would need to get, accessibility wise, healthcare management and all of that. So when analyzing this, even with us as well, people living in urban areas, I think when we are trying to look at why is it that there is a certain problem with regards to getting healthcare, I think we need to look at the knowledge and awareness that the people have with regards to their basic health and, management of healthcare in general. So, Doctor, would you be able to sort of enlighten us what is the general basic kind of level of knowledge and level of awareness that people in, particularly in rural communities, have with regards to health?
Okay, so if we think of our health system in Sri Lanka, Abhishek, so thanks to free education and free healthcare system in Sri Lanka, even though we are in a crisis, we are able to maintain good health indices or good health parameters when we compare with our other South Asian countries. So, for an example, we have a good vaccination coverage, we have a very low maternal mortality ratio, we have very low under 5 children mortality rate. So, we have very good health indices even though we are in a crisis, since we are maintaining a good quality healthcare system in Sri Lanka. And when we compare with other countries, our people are having a good literacy. But the thing is, healthcare system is mainly focused on curative sector. About preventive sector, it's questionable. And if we think of healthcare system, it's more urbanized. So for rural areas, it's scarce. And as you said about the accessibility, so accessibility means so people should be able to easily access the healthcare facilities without any doubt. We say at least there should be a healthcare facility within 3 kilometers radius. But if we think of rural areas, actually we find it very difficult where they can access healthcare facilities. So, and the other thing is their knowledge on health education. since they do not have facilities enough in their area, especially in rural areas. So they lack in healthcare knowledge. So they do have a severe problem with health education. So that is one of a major problem I see in rural areas.
In rural areas in particular, I mean, there is like a significant lack really with regards to the knowledge and awareness that they have with regards to with regards to health management and as such. And like you said, but and sort of going in depth, I guess, with that, doctor, like in contrast, people in urban areas, obviously there are obvious reasons why people in urban areas would be easy for them to gain access and all of that. But is there are there any more sort of reasons as to why there is such a significant lack in when it comes to their awareness and knowledge, with regards, or in contrast, I mean, you could even say, is it questionable that people living in urban areas, I mean, do they have sort of even more knowledge, awareness about that a bit more?
If you think of the modern era, Abhishek, so we are in an electronic era. So people have, I mean, if you think of persons, they have electronic devices with them. So they can quickly search and quickly get any medical information with their electronic media. But the thing is, if we go towards rural areas, so they are reaching electronic media to rural areas is very, very rare. And the other thing is, with the crisis, people even if they ill, they are lacking, or they hesitate to reach a medical facility since they do not have money. So they take home remedies and they try to solve it at home. So one thing I see is a major factor which affects health education in rural areas is electronic media. It doesn't reach the rural areas much. So I think that is a major factor which affects lacking of health education in rural areas.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, I mean, like obvious reasons true. The fact that when you're urbanized, there are those advantages, and I feel like those advantages not just from with many sectors, but the same applies with health as well. And like you said, access to like electronic devices and media as such, and a lot of times I feel like people living in rural areas, they just kind of make do with what they have, and they try to like you said, with remedies and as such. So it is definitely a situation where they just don't seem to have that level of knowledge and awareness that they should rightfully have. So subsequently with this, doctor, I mean, definitely the next question that really pops up is, well, I mean, definitely they must be facing a lot of health problems, right? So what are like the major problems, specifically if you were to talk about people living in rural areas, what are they facing health problem wise? Yeah.
So that's a good question, Abhishek. So if we think of the health problems in Sri Lanka, and particularly in rural areas, non-communicable diseases are on the rise.
Non-communicable diseases?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have strict measures to communicable diseases. And people do take medicine for communicable diseases when they get it.
Right.
For an example, if you get a common cold or cough, we have different causes to get a cold or a cough. It may be viral, it may be bacterial. So if it is viral, sometimes it settles by its own. So you don't need to take medicine at all. It will settle by like 2-3 days. But why do people seek a doctor when they get a cough and cold? Because it affects their daily, it affects their quality of life. It affects their daily living. So when they have a cough or cold, they can't do their day-to-day activities. They can't go to work. They can't do their home stuff. So because of that, they seek medical advice and they take medicine, and they will be okay by 2 days. But if you think of communicable diseases, if you think of diabetes, if you now for an example, if I check your blood pressure, if I check your blood sugar now, if it is high, and if I say you have diabetes and you should, you must take medicine, will you take? I hope probably not. Because it doesn't give you any symptoms at the beginning, right? It doesn't give you anything, any symptom or any discomfort at the beginning. It takes 5 years to give you problems. Then you realize, and then you will be probably too late.
It'll be too late. I'll just sort of ignore it, and
So if you think of the recent studies in Sri Lanka, if you think of diabetes, now the recent study, that means last year, a study revealed that diabetes prevalence in Sri Lanka is about 23%. So that means every 1 of 4 people are having diabetes. And if you think of high blood pressure or hypertension, a study in 2022 reveals that about 28% of people are having hypertension.
Wow.
So non-communicable diseases are on the rise, and especially if you think of rural areas, again, because since it does not give any discomfort, they hesitate to, they do not take medicine at all. They do not seek medical advice until they get complications. So that is one major problem where people in rural areas are facing. And another major problem in Sri Lanka is drug abuse. So especially in adolescents. So again, a study in 2022 reveals that drug abuse among adolescents is about 16%.
16%.
Yes. So I think a proper health education needed towards again drug abuse. And the other thing is mental health. People do disregard mental health. They do not care about mental health, and they stigmatize people who have mental problems. Again, about 23 to 25% of people are facing any sort of a mental health condition. So I think those are some major problems where the people in rural areas are mainly facing nowadays. So I think those problems should be addressed aggressively.
Yeah, and thank you, doctor. I think some of the problems that you we didn't probably think a lot of us think when you just think about diseases and things like that, you just think cold and things obviously communicable diseases and what you sort of see up front, and meanwhile there's a whole underneath there are many more things, and non-communicable diseases and as such other morbidities that really those are the major culprits behind this, and once again it again stems from this lack of understanding, right?
Yes.
It's this lack of understanding that people in the rural areas they just don't have, and it's difficult to somehow properly kind of do that, and but measures have to be taken, isn't that right? Measures have to be taken because every citizen has a right to get that necessary health care. So with regards to measures being taken, how can we exactly how is it possible? What methods can be used to say raise their level of awareness? Because if the problem lies there, so then maybe improve their understanding, and then subsequently then allow them to sort of better figure out and treat and get that necessary healthcare. So how is it, what are the things that you can do sort of?
So Abhishek, now in our day-to-day life, we may have heard this quote, prevention is better than cure.
Yeah, it's, people, I think they even get to write essays on that when they're in school. Yeah.
So I think, as you said, awareness is the key for these factors I mentioned a little while ago.
Yeah.
So for non-communicable diseases, for drug abuse, what we need is awareness. So to address these problems, I think we need, as healthcare professionals, as medical students, what we have to do is we need to reach these people and make them aware about the problems they are facing and how to get rid of them. So that at least we can prevent them getting the disease, right? So with the help of healthcare professionals, I think having workshops, having medical exhibitions, having health camps would be a better way of reaching these people, rather than just just giving a lecture, just having a lecture with them. So just meet them and having two-way communication with them, make them aware with medical exhibitions and clear their doubts would be the best way of addressing these doubts.
Right, so it's just, basically getting right into it, rather than from an external kind of, not from an external standpoint, but getting right into it and sort of, person to person and properly kind of infusing, I think, that understanding from a ground level is
would be better.
Yeah, would be.
And the other thing is, if we can empower them, right?
Yeah.
Not like, so we go there, we just tell, okay, if you get diabetes, this can happen, so you just reduce or cut down taking sugar. Rather than going in that way, if we can empower them to motivate and to think of their self, to reflect themselves and to take a measure, that would be a better way. So going right at it and help them to get a solution with medical camp or a medical exhibition would be a better way, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And just exhibitions and as such, really just kind of getting right into it, and also empowering, like you said, doctor, is extremely important, I think, because they would necessarily kind of, maybe like all of a sudden they might be sort of interested and aware, but then it might sort of diminish over time, and you need to kind of, I think, be able to make like a permanent dent, a permanent mark when it comes to them motivated and going really understanding the sort of health care and what they need so that they can improve their situation for the better. So I think that's definitely very insightful, with regards to because we, all of us, are living in this one country, and we need to sort of understand what everyone is going through, and everyone, by everyone meaning people everywhere, and even whether urban, whether rural, so in this case rural areas, and we need to sort of have that idea that these people are facing this problem due to lack of understanding and awareness. And so, and with regards to what you said, that there are ways of doing and ways of improving, there are obviously major like health institutions and organizations across the island, I think, focusing on various issues and bound to sort of focus on this particular case as well with regards to rural areas. Are there any sort of like major things that have been sort of implemented already by like major institutions? I'm kind of curious to know. Are there like organizations that are really sort of getting into it and doing things out there? What's the situation like?
So again, if we think of health institutions, with the current crisis, with the current funds they are having, so they take their maximum effort to prevent communicable or non-communicable diseases. Especially they are more focused on communicable diseases nowadays, because now if you think of dengue, so in a weather like this, if you have a rainy season, you have some sort of a pattern. You know you have a peak of dengue if you have a rainy season. So we anticipate and we can actually take measures to prevent dengue.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
If you, I hope you have heard of rat fever, or what we call is leptospirosis. Again, in rainy seasons, among farmers, the leptospirosis trend will go up. So we know, and we can take measures. We can give prophylactic medicine, or what we say is medicine before getting the disease. Right? So we provide medicine before they get the rat fever.
Right.
So that is pretty straightforward. But if you think of the factors which I have mentioned, like about diabetes, about hypertension, about drug abuse, about mental health, usually you don't see a seasonal pattern. So you don't know, we can't actually predict that, okay, in January you will have a peak of diabetes. You can't say so.
Yeah.
So you need to have a continuous monitoring.
Right.
So even though we have in every MOH area, even though there's a special person called MONCD, so he's responsible on non-communicable diseases, he can't actually take measures throughout the year because of lack of resources. So definitely they will need support. So as medical professionals, so we learn, we came here from people's taxes as medical students. So students learn from people's taxes. So I think rather than learning and rather than doing our professional role, I think we have a responsibility on people's health. So I think rather than not just giving the weight towards institutions, so I think as medical students, as healthcare professionals, we have a responsibility to support them. So I think so as medical students or as healthcare professionals, what we can do is we can organize health camps, we can organize workshops, we can organize exhibitions to empower people, so to make aware people. So I think that's a better way where we can support healthcare institutions in Sri Lanka. Even though they have certain measures, I think that's a good way. That's a better way where we can provide a service to people.
Yeah, that's I think that was very, very important what you said, Doctor, like with regards to kind of, well, I mean, obviously students learning from people's taxes, and at the same time kind of how sort of, how they can pay back and kind of sort of return, it contributions wise and kind of like impact wise with regards to the healthcare and with regards to people, because, well, I think a lot of times people try to think of like maybe things on a grand scale, doing as such and such, but I feel like you said, getting right into it with exhibitions, with clinics, with person to person, and then spreading that awareness, empowering people, and sort of being very intimate with the people in rural areas and giving them that understanding, and also I think facilitating it via MOHs and all of that, and also screening and doing all of those things is actually the way to go. It's you sort of have to have that stepwise approach, and at the same time we need to understand that we take it upon ourselves to do that. I mean, if students wise and everyone really, because we're all in this together. We're all we're all connected, intertwined in many ways, and I feel like we cannot just separate ourselves and think of them as separate. And isn't that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't separate people from us, because we are bound to treat, or we are bound to give our service to people, and as doctors, as you are going to be a future, you all are going to be future doctors, so people do come with their problems, right? They come when they have a problem, so we are actually bound to solve their problems, health related problems. So we can't actually separate people from us. So we are all in one community.
Yeah, and I think, me personally, being a medical student, I think that is something that I have taken to heart, and just everyone in general, kind of just understanding that we're all in it together, and that's kind of the thing. Because when the pandemic hit everyone, it was for everyone, right? So it wasn't gonna separate out some people and this and that, but obviously focusing on this situation, the people in rural communities, they need us, and they need the help from every angle, really. So that's important, and definitely very insightful with regards to I think we kind of laid the whole groundwork as to what's wrong and what's going on in rural communities, the problems that they're facing, and what can be done, and what are the things that are being done, what's the right way to go. And so in line with this, I believe that the medical students over at University of California have indeed really taken that task upon themselves seriously, and are setting into motion this massive project that they're planning on addressing this issue and addressing all those, and trying to figure out by targeting a certain community and all. And we're going to get right into that Doctor. But before that, we are going to actually sort of take a small break, listen to a song, and we will be right back. So definitely do stay tuned. We're going to listen to a tune by the Foundations, and we're going to be right back talking about more on this topic. So definitely do stay tuned. And here are the Foundations with Build Me Up Buttercup. Enjoy.
Music feels just so good when you're tuned in to your one and only station
on 97.4 and 97.6 FM.
Radio wherever you are. Radio Sri Lanka. Radio Sri Lanka, the station to the nation.
That's right, dear listeners. The time right now is 7:30, and you're listening to Radio Sri Lanka 97.4 and 97.6 FM island wide. Yes, indeed, and we are back again with our very special interview, actually, and we've been talking a lot with regards to the situation, and with regards to what we've been talking about, which is the current healthcare sort of situation that the people in rural communities are facing. They're facing a lot of problems, and it all stems from the fact that they don't have the proper understanding and knowledge and awareness with regards to that, mainly affected by non-communicable diseases, the diseases that you don't think twice, but it's there underneath, and it's going to affect you in the long run, and a lot of times, and when it comes to properly, and they don't have that understanding, and we need to take it upon ourselves to make sure that that understanding is being given, empowerment is being given via various ways, implementing exhibitions, clinics, and really just getting right into it. And I believe, because the problem once again stems from this lack of understanding, and that is where it must be addressed. And speaking of which is a good segue to our next part, which we're going to talk about with regards to this whole implementing things to improve and make the situation better. I believe that the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, and this is not their first time, they seem to do this every year, and I think you're going to talk a bit more about this, and basically the University of Kelaniya, the medical students over there, have in fact actually taken it upon themselves to address this situation. They've been addressing it for several years, and they've taken it upon themselves to address the situation by targeting a certain rural community and really sort of getting right into it, as you said, and on a massive scale, actually sort of setting everything in motion these few days, in just several days, trying to sort of have this health camp, as you said, a health camp with regards to addressing the situation in rural areas. They're targeting a certain community. So I think people, listeners might be curious, and we're all curious as to really because it's done on a massive scale, it's done on a massive level, it's not just a little project as such. So Doctor, would you like to enlighten us as to what this health camp is, and how big are we talking about, what sort of impact it has?
Okay. So if I talk about this health camp, which is organized by the medical students of Faculty of Medicine and University of Kelaniya. So as you rightly said, this is happening annually. And so since I'm a recent graduate from Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, and since I was a student about 10 to 11 years back, so I know, I have experienced, and we were also involved in organizing these health camps, because it was happening it was happening annually since then. And usually, if you think of the university life of students, usually they do something if it is academically related, right? But this is not something which is not to get academic credit, right? So this is something which is done entirely voluntarily, entirely on voluntary basis, right? So students get together every year. They choose a place, usually a rural area where people are lacking health education and health knowledge, and they plan it for quite a period of time. It's not, as you said, just picking a location and they pick a date and just go and conduct the health camp, right? So they plan it for like 6 to 8 months. They plan a lot.
Wow.
Right? And if I compare the health camps which we have done and the health camps which we are doing at the moment, it has come to a level where the students plan a lot, not only the health camp, right? So those days what we did was we pick a place and we plan about the health camp and the exhibition, and we conduct the exhibition. Now what I have seen with students, they do not just conduct the medical camp. So what they do is, they about 3 to 4 months ahead, they reach the village, they make aware the people about the health camp, about the exhibition, and they do some pre-workshops before the health camp, so that on the day of health camp people are well aware that this is going to happen. And usually the participation is high or higher than what we have but with comparing to the previous sessions, right? So this time the health camp will be done on at Kantale Agpopura Mahavidyalaya on 16th of June, that means next Sunday, and we will be having a health camp as well as a medical exhibition. And in the health camp, so we will be providing these services, like we will be having an OPD care, and we will be having special clinics. We will be having a medical clinic. We will be having I'm just telling a few of clinics, right? A bit of clinics. So we are having a medical clinic, a surgical clinic, an eye clinic, a radiology clinic where the scans will be done, and so those a clinic for children. So we are having a vast range of clinics in the medical camp, and we will be having a separate station for blood drawing. So people, if they have, if we see a problem, we can direct them to draw blood, take a blood test. And with regard to medical exhibition, so students have picked some specific topics, and the medical exhibition will be done. So this is a kind of a massive project, and a lot of funding would be needed, and so we will be, so this is a long-term plan and a well organized medical exhibition.
Right. So it's I think, a lot of times I feel like people just think that, something that the students are doing would necessarily be, it'll be a little project or something like that, but like what we're dealing with here is, like you said, is there a particular reason why Kantale was selected with this regard?
Actually, now if we think of the previous exhibition, so we have selected different locations. So this time what we have, why we have specifically selected is, again, it's more in a rural area. And when the students reached there, and when they inquired about the health needs, again we have come across the health needs, the problems I have mentioned. So they are having a severe problem or severe unawareness about the NCDs. And again, among adolescents we may have seen a trend of drug abuse. So that is why we have picked Kantale as a specific point this time to conduct the medical exhibition and the medical camp.
It's I think it's important, and particularly being a very sort of rural place and a rural area, a lot of people are facing this lot of problems there, and the fact that like you said before, it's not something that the students are doing for credit or anything like that. It's completely out of their own volition, completely voluntary, and the fact that obviously medical students are particularly, they're busy, and yet they would have to, I guess, find time, right, to do this, and it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of hours, a lot of sacrifice, and like you said, if they're preparing this in advance, months in advance, it's a lot of times people talk about doing good and doing this and doing that, but few get to sort of walk the talk, as they say. But everyone tries to do something, but this is definitely something so commendable because of the fact that the students are trying their best to bring about this huge impact on obviously you can't really have the impact on all rural areas at once, but starting it stepwise, starting it somewhere, and the fact that they've been doing this for so many years also, the fact that targeting each and every rural area sort of step by step every year, and sort of canvassing the whole island as a whole, really, and that's honestly something that's truly wonderful, I feel like, and the fact that they're able to do this on a massive scale, I believe that a lot of the doctors and everyone's going to be involved. It's going to be with the clinics as such.
So as you said, Abhishek, so medical program is very huge, right, and it's very hectic. So in the first 2 years they are on lectures, they are on practicals, and it gets even worse when they come to third and fourth year, and the worst would be in final year. So we have to be on hospital, and then we have to be on we have to be there for lectures, for practicals, and if we get admission days, so we have to be at the wards the whole night. So the program is very hectic. Despite of the hectic program, medical students find time to have this medical camp. That is why I said
the degree being hectic.
Yes. Despite of the program, still the medical students are very enthusiastic about this health camp. They are doing, as I said, they are doing entirely on a voluntary basis. So no one is forcing them to have this medical camp. So this is entirely voluntary, and so this is not only done by, this is not only with the participation of medical students. So they take the help from the Ragama teaching hospital, Colombo North Teaching Hospital, and the academic staff from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kalani gives a massive help to make this program a success. And as you said, this will give this will be a good example for other medical faculties as well. So we have currently about 11 to 12 medical faculties in the country. So if we can take this as an example, and if they also motivate to have medical camps in the country, I think most of the rural areas will benefit from these medical camps, I guess.
Yeah, and with regards to the level of benefits, like the impact, we're definitely looking at a permanent impact. Is that right, Doctor?
Yes. So that is why I said empowering is much needed. Not just having a face-to-face lecture. Empowering people would be much better. Then that would be sustainable. Then people will get it into their head and they will have it. For an example, now what we say is, if you think of first aid, right? First aid, the knowledge of first aid should be there on every person. But what we see, I'm confining this to rural areas. Even since we are living around Colombo, what we have seen, people do die while transporting to hospital because people do not know the basic first aid to prevent further further damage from whatever an injury. So if we, for an example, if we think of a road traffic accident, what people do is they just put the person who has faced the road traffic accident into a trishaw into whatever a vehicle and transport. While transporting, so he will sustain further damages and die. But if we can teach people proper first aid techniques, if we can teach people about how to give proper chest compression if a person is on cardiac arrest, that will save life. That will save lives. So I think empowering people would be a better way to have a sustained medical or health education. So rather than just having a medical camp, that is why I said you need a proper pre-planning. You need pre-workshops. Then people will motivate and people will come to your medical camp for your medical exhibition, and then they will get something. Otherwise it's just like a typical camp.
And then I mean honestly, like, and this applies I guess to all people, not just people living in rural. I mean all of us, and I believe like you said, it's centered also around a school as well, with regards to that.
Why we have chosen a school is, one thing is to make aware children, and actually the principal of Kantale Akbopura Mahavidyalaya, he is giving a massive support to make this medical exhibition a success.
Right. So
we are targeting adults as well as school children, and since we have a large space in the school, we picked the school so that we can conduct many clinics as well as the exhibition without any hassle. So that is why we actually picked the school. One thing is the support from the principal, and the other thing is as a target audience, about school children.
So what we can I guess see from this is that this is like a well thought out project done at a massive scale, and done in a way, considering the fact that you have all these clinics lined up, like you said, like basically from we have a dental clinic, and then from the even I believe like when it comes to even giving wheelchairs and as such, with that regards, and with spectacles and as well, and with regards to blood tests, with regards to screening, and getting all those like facilities and clinics that I honestly don't think people just about in any rural community, and not just in Kantale, and Kantale in particular, I don't think they really get that opportunity to have that access and have that kind of access to those facilities, and what kind of impact it's going to have on the people and on the children there is actually quite unimaginable when you think about it. It's
so as you said, Abhishek, so we are not just having an exhibition. We do plan to provide various services, like we are providing spectacles who need, and we are again having a separate stall for blood tests. So those who need can get their blood tests checked there. And we are having a radiology clinic.
A radiology clinic?
Yes.
As well.
So where we do ultrasound scans, where we do plan to, we have a help from our Faculty of Medicine. We have a radiologist with us, so he is helping us a lot to conduct this radiology clinic. So we are providing free ultrasound scans in the clinic. So we are providing we are providing various sorts, and we have an OPD clinic where we provide free OPD services, and we provide free medicine for people. So this is some sort of a massive clinic, massive medical camp.
So almost like reenacting a little hospital over there, sort of. It's honestly it's really remarkable and kind of unbelievable, really. The fact that and on beyond that, just the fact that these students are like really sort of, it's something that's student powered, and as such, and well, with regards to that, and like you said before, obviously because this is being done at such a massive scale, and being of a noble cause, obviously, but done at a massive scale, I believe there are obviously logistics that have to be considered, primarily obviously funding. The question is obvious pretty much. How is it? You're going to need a lot of funding, isn't it? Quite a bit of budget really for something like this, and I think there are difficulties is it faced with regards to that. So.
Yes. So since this is a large scale project, so definitely we need funding, and since this is a voluntary service, so since this is done by medical students on voluntary basis, so we are students itself look for funding or look for any monetary sources. So far we could get some funding, but the thing is still we are lacking some. So what those who are listening, what I can ask is, I generously accept your donations if you are willing to donate us. And since I am the treasurer of this medical camp, health camp, so I am liable to the funding, or I am liable of your on your donations. So I humbly request you, if you are willing to donate us, I would humbly request you to have some to have some donations.
And then it's obviously it's, and I believe and is there a contact number, doctor, like we can, so because a lot of people are listening, and our listeners really are, they're very keen when it comes to particularly helping out with regards to people who are going through difficulties, and this is probably, I don't think there's a nobler, it's hard to find right now, it's as noble as it gets pretty much when it comes to what the purpose behind this particular health camp and the purpose behind this, because we started out talking about the fact that people living in rural communities are facing a major situation, a major health crisis with regards to the fact that they have a very low understanding regarding their own health care. We need to understand that we owe it a lot to the people out there, because people working in paddy fields, people working in rural communities, they really kind of form the backbone when it comes to a lot of industries and a lot of areas, sectors in this country. And the fact that these people living in these communities, because of certain the difficulties that they face, they don't have the proper understanding, they don't have the proper education, and with that they are facing and they're subjected to so many difficulties, health problems, that they have no idea of, suffering from a lot of diseases that they simply are unaware of, and they don't know what to do, and even if they know, they don't have the proper access to all of that as well. And the fact that the fact that people are trying to do something, but the fact that these medical students just said, we are going to do it, and then they've taken that responsibility upon themselves, and they've gone right into it, to the rural community, and they're trying to sort of do something at such a massive level to have that permanent change. I think that is something, it's not just noble, it is honestly inspiring, to be honest. And I feel like if there is any way that we can help, any way that the people can help and contribute, any way that our listeners right now can help and contribute, whatever way it may be, it's definitely important. Isn't that right, doctor?
Yes, actually that would be a real help for our students to make their medical camp a success. Exactly. So as the treasurer, I would like to leave my number.
Yes, your contact number,
so
doctor.
My contact number is 071 26 80 883.
Right, so once again, Dr. Harith Wickramasekara's contact number is 071 268 0883. 071 268 0883. And definitely, so for more information on that, as well as when it comes to whatever contribution, whatever it is that we feel like and we want to talk, we want to contribute, I believe can contact you, doctor. And so yes, I believe that our time has almost come to an end, but and I want to thank you, doctor, for obviously I know you've got a busy schedule and all of that, so, and obviously with the weather, and it's naughty, so and all of that, so definitely thank you for coming and sort of really enlightening us and the listeners out there, and really giving this insight, because people don't talk about this enough. People, I guess, have an idea, the people from rural communities are going through something, but I don't think they know about the situation properly. And I think we kind of give a brief overview, as it's there's far more things to talk about, but I believe that we gave a brief overview and a proper and a concise overview, and not just that though, really sort of highlighting this endeavor that students that often would, I guess, get underestimated, trying their level best to do something that is I guess generation defining. It's an endeavor that is going to leave a permanent mark, and in this case in Kantale, leave a permanent mark there, and forever change the lives of people living in that area, and hoping to continue the same pattern the next years as well. And so, Doctor, once again, if you were to remind our listeners of the date and where of this this great endeavor, this great health camp is being done.
So our health camp will be held on 16th of June, that means next Sunday,
16th,
at Kantale Agpopura Mahavidyalaya. So we welcome people around Kantale and people who are interested in helping us for this health camp. And if there's any case, you can contact me and get more details.
Exactly. You can contact Dr. Harith at 07126808883. Alright, so with that, thank you very much, Doctor, for coming to our program and talking about this. Hope you had a wonderful time.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Alright, Doctor. So with that, dear listeners, we are gonna jump right back into more music. So definitely do stay tuned, because this Sunday morning, yes, it has certainly been a lovely, lively Sunday morning, and it is definitely gonna be even more lively and lovely. So definitely do stay tuned with this delightful Sunday morning, Sunday, pretty much the rest of the day actually. So we're going to jump right into more good music. Here's Billy Joel with Piano Man. Enjoy.